This week on Jerusalem Dateline, the war between Armenia and Azerbaijan is over for now, but the impact on civilians has been enormous.
Tens of thousands of people have been displaced in this conflict.
Plus, how would a Biden administration deal with Iran and its nuclear program? And a unique leadership training center in the heart of Israel celebrates its 10th anniversary. All this and more this week on Jerusalem Dateline. Hello and welcome to this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. I'm Chris Mitchell. On November 10th, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Russia signed an agreement to end the 6-week-old war between Armenians and Azeris and stop the latest round of fighting in a decades-old conflict. Armenia's prime minister called the deal incredibly painful for me and for our people. On Facebook, he said the decision was based on deep analysis of the combat situation and warned the whole of Nagorno-Karabakh would have been lost. The decades-old conflict reignited in September over Nagorno-Karabakh. Azerbaijan claims the area, although most living there are Armenian and part of one of the oldest Christian communities in the world. The disputed area sits between the two countries. When the Soviet Union fell in 1991, this self-governed region of Azerbaijan voted to join Armenia. The conflict pitted often friendly powerhouses against each other. Turkey backed Azerbaijan and provided military support, while both Russia and Iran sided with Armenia. One report said the Armenian army was outnumbered 8-1. In Baku, the capital of Azerbaijan, the people celebrated, and its president called it a great victory and a capitulation by Armenia. The deal allows Azerbaijan to keep areas of Nagorno-Karabakh it seized during the war, and Armenia agreed to leave several other areas in the next few weeks. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced Russia would provide nearly 2,000 peacekeepers along the front lines. In the past few days, Azerbaijan captured one major city and was advancing towards the capital of Nagorno-Karabakh. Thousands of Armenians fled the area, many with nowhere to go.
What can a woman feel without a house, without belongings, without anything?
In the capital of Armenia, protesters stormed the parliament buildings, vowed to keep fighting, and said their leaders betrayed them.
We don't agree with the decision. We will not give them away. We will fight. And we don't want this. We don't want the government in our city and in our motherland.
The fighting pitted Christian Armenians and mostly Muslim Azeris against each other. CBN's Chuck Holton recently filed this report from the front lines.
Behind me, you can see the effects of the Azeri bombardment that has been hitting this city since September 27th. Of the 150,000 people who live in this area, most of them have already had to flee, but there are still tens of thousands of people that are staying here, sleeping in their cellars, in their basements, and listening to the daily barrage of random artillery that's falling on this city.
Some Armenians told Holton they saw the war as an existential threat.
They won't occupy our territory and clean this territory from Armenians.
Thousands died in the 6-week war, and given the decades-long history of the region, it's likely it may not be the end of the conflict. CBN's Chuck Holton was on the front lines of the war, and here's his report on its aftermath.
Unrest still grips Armenia after a peace deal accepted by its president that he described as painful. Since September, the citizens here have been under attack from their neighbors, Azerbaijan and Turkey, over the region of Nagorno-Karabakh. Many in that region fled to the capital, Yerevan, and are now protesting what they see as surrendering their future. For months, the entire country supported the war effort, even as the Azeri military continued to pound civilian areas.
This has become an existential issue. This is an issue of ethnic cleansing and terror-inspiring means applied by Azerbaijan towards Armenians who live there.
It was started by the Azeris, who are trying to not only take territory that has been historically Armenian for thousands of years, but they don't want to stop with just the taking of territory. They want to wipe out the Armenian people.
The Armenian military is vastly outnumbered, some say as much as 8-1. After the Azeri military claimed to have taken the region's second largest city, Shushi, the situation turned dire.
They're backed openly by the Turkish government, who on the one hand say there was never a genocide, and on the other hand will say, now we're coming to finish what we started.
But Armenians say this fight was about more than a territorial dispute.
The first nation on earth to officially embrace Christianity, and that is something that the Turks and Azeris don't want. Erdogan, who's president of Turkey, seeks a revived Ottoman Empire with Islam at its head. And right now, Armenia and the Republic of Artsakh are standing in the way of that vision.
Not only does this current truce stop the bloodshed for the moment, it also forces Armenia to give up land it has occupied for centuries. After news of the peace deal, angry protesters took over a government building, calling for the president to resign.
Tens of thousands of people have been displaced in this conflict, and many of them have taken up shelter here in Yerevan with their family, with friends, or some people are just taking in refugees out of the goodness of their own hearts.
Since day one, we had a lot of families who had to relocate and come to Yerevan and other cities of Armenia. I hosted in my house a family of 12, and then I asked my parents to host another family, and all my friends' houses, people host families in their houses, and then we needed accommodations who could host more people, obviously.
Now, many of these refugees face an uncertain future as their homes have been seriously damaged or destroyed. Russian peacekeepers patrol the ground in the Nagorno-Karabakh, but the people of Armenia say this crisis is far from over, and they fear their rich religious history will soon be wiped out in the areas they no longer control.
Their very existence is endangered right now. And as Americans, as Christians in America, we have that obligation to support Armenia and Artsakh.
From Yerevan, Armenia, I'm Chuck Holton for CBN News.
Up next, election results are still coming in, but some Middle East observers wonder what a Biden presidency would mean for the region.
Now, for a limited time, you can get 5 of CBN's critically acclaimed documentaries. Experience the rebirth of the modern state of Israel.
The historic bonds between the Jewish people and the land of Israel cannot be broken.
Relive the battle for Jerusalem in the Six-Day War.
Jerusalem is yours forever.
Discover how Israeli volunteers are changing the world.
When people need us, we volunteer and we come and help.
Explore the world of Israeli technological innovation.
We're people of dreams. God gives us dreams. And that's really the roots, I think, of much of our innovation.
And understand the biggest land dispute in history.
Many Palestinian Arabs claim that the Jews stole Arab land. But is that the real story?
This exclusive Israel DVD collection can be yours for a gift of $40 or more. Call now or go online to get your Israel DVD bundle today. A new wave of anti-Semitism is sweeping the globe, and the Jewish state faces hostility at every turn. Now is the time for Christians to support Israel. In CBN's free booklet, Why Christians Stand with Israel, you'll discover why Christians support the Jewish state and why we must stand together with the Jewish people. Get your free copy today. Call now or go to cbn.com/standwithisrael.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
With the presidential election still hanging in the balance, one major consequence is U.S. policy in the Middle East. Here's 2 reports on the potential relationship of a Biden-Harris administration with Iran and with the Palestinians. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and President Reuven Rivlin congratulated Joe Biden Sunday after his victory address. While final results could be tied up in the courts for weeks, Israeli leaders are already looking at one major foreign policy difference between President Trump and a potential Biden administration.
The main concern for us is the Iranian issue. Vice President Biden said very clearly that he wants to re-enter the JCPOA, the agreement with the Iranians. He wants to improve it. But we know the Iranians, they will play their games. They will continue with deception, with lies. And at the end of the day, they will have the same agreement.
The Obama administration forged the nuclear deal in 2015, and President Trump ended it in 2018. Former Vice President Biden and Senator Kamala Harris are on record to renew the deal. Their website states if Tehran returns to compliance with the deal, President Biden would re-enter the agreement, using hard-nosed diplomacy and support from our allies to strengthen and extend it. CBN News reached out to the Biden campaign asking if there has been any change. They have not responded as of airtime.
We are worried about it, and if the U.S. will decide to re-enter the JCPOA without making the crucial changes, Israel will have to recalculate our approach to the nuclear race of Iran.
Former Israeli ambassador to the UN, Danny Danon, tells CBN News what that recalculation entails.
We will say very clearly, we will keep all options on the table. We will not allow the Iranians to obtain nuclear capabilities. So we will do whatever is necessary. We have the means to make sure that it will never happen, and we mean it.
For the Biden campaign, a renewed Iranian nuclear deal would be on the table. While President Trump made history with the Abraham Accords, some believe a Biden White House would renew focus on the Palestinians.
A Biden presidency would return to the policies of both the Obama administration and Clinton administration. We're giving precedence to the achievement of a Palestinian state based on the 67 borders with East Jerusalem and its capital.
While the Biden-Harris website does not address the issue directly, Senator Harris told the Arab American News, "We are committed to a two-state solution, and we will oppose any unilateral steps that undermine that goal. We will also oppose annexation and settlement expansion. And we will take immediate steps to restore economic and humanitarian assistance to the Palestinian people." In 2018, the Trump administration ended funding to UNRWA, the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian refugees.
Over a period of 2.5 years, he got information to show that the UNRWA was actually a terrorist advocate, and he did what needed to be done and cut them off. UNRWA is making every sign that they expected Biden to reverse that process.
David Badin has investigated UNRWA for 2 decades.
The United Nations Relief and Works Agency is a terror advocate openly, without any. They don't mince words about it. They with military training in their schools, with school books which praise those who murder Jews, with school books which get children in the mornings to start their day with singing songs about wiping out the state of Israel. This is not appropriate for a United Nations agency.
More than 300,000 young Palestinians attend these schools in the West Bank, Gaza, and Jerusalem. Badin asked Vice President Biden about UNRWA in 2016. Biden's written response said in part, "While there is still work to be done, Palestinian government has made significant progress in reducing inflammatory rhetoric and revising official textbooks."
Now, I want to be very fair about this. If UNRWA had shown signs that they were having a new curriculum, listening to feedback, you'd have to be fair about it. But they're not. And UNRWA is continuing to teach the theme, right of return by force of arms, as their theme.
CBN News reached out to the Biden campaign for a response on aid to UNRWA, but has yet to get a reply. In a documentary produced by Badin's group in 2019, filmmakers asked students in a Bethlehem Palestinian refugee camp about what they're taught.
There's no two-state or one-state solution. There's only one state, and it will be Palestine forever. And what was taken by battle will be reconquered through battle.
With teaching like this, Badin sees UNRWA inciting an entire generation of Palestinians away from peace. Coming up, a one-of-a-kind leadership training center celebrates its 10th anniversary.
Get written in stone, Jesus of Nazareth.
Matthew and Mark say Jesus went to a place called Gethsemane. Luke says he went to the Mount of Olives as he was accustomed. And John says that he crossed the Kidron Brook and entered a garden. The Kidron Valley has been dry for centuries. But in Jesus' day, the winter rains created a stream that ran between the Mount of Olives and the Temple Mount. Here at the foot of the Mount of Olives is an orchard known as Gethsemane. It's been venerated by Christians for centuries. Around AD 324, the historian Eusebius wrote, "The faithful were accustomed to go there and pray." But is it really the place where Jesus spent his last night on earth?
Get written in stone, Jesus of Nazareth. For a gift of any dollar amount, call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/written-in-stone.
Joy!
From Superbook.
Your mother fell.
What? Your dad went with her in the ambulance.
You may have trials in life, but God will help you through them.
Why doesn't God, I don't know, fix this? Superbook!
Join the Superbook Club and get Superbook Paul Keeps the Faith, plus 2 copies to share with others, all for your gift of only $25.
Our worst situations can be turned for the greatest good when we endure them.
Superbook, Paul Keeps the Faith.
Here's part 1 of a 2-part story on a remarkable center in the heart of Israel. 10 years ago, CBN News began to cover a story set here in the hills of ancient Samaria, part of Israel's biblical heartland. It began a partnership between Jews and Christians in building a one-of-a-kind training center here in the heart of Israel. Here's a look back at our story from 2010. These young Israelis are having fun, but it's fun with a purpose.
You learn things about yourself that you didn't know before, you overcome fears, and it just makes you better.
It will be the center for youth leadership in Israel.
Ariel Mayor Ron Nachman is excited to welcome the new training center to this part of Israel's biblical heartland.
There's nothing like that in Israel, and the concept is the key, is the essence of everything. It's not just climbing the high ropes or something like that. No. Beyond it, there is a whole theory of a concept of how to enrich the child, boy or girl, how to enrich a leader, how to enrich a community, how to enrich a country.
The concept uses physical challenges, teamwork, and the Bible to teach principles of leadership. This all began when kids from Ariel visited a Christian retreat center in the U.S. called J.H. Ranch.
And when the children came back from the ranch, they changed their whole behavior. And mother said to me, what I did not succeed to do with my child in the last 16 years, you did it in 2 weeks.
It's the perfect outdoor classroom.
Heather Johnston and her husband Bruce direct the J.H. Ranch. They suggested the idea to Nachman of a national training center for Israel's youth.
He agreed that maybe this would be a great idea, and so he came to J.H. Ranch, and he is the one who really has birthed the vision in the nation of Israel.
The program, endorsed by Israel's Ministry of Education, is based on the characters of the Hebrew Bible.
Leaders like Abraham and Moshe and Esther and all of these leaders that really rose up at climactic times in Israel's history. How did they relate to God?
Israelis want to develop what they describe as a Joshua generation.
A generation that can come forth with a real new dynamic inside themselves, a spirit of courage and of faith in God, and an understanding of who they are in relation to themselves, the nation, and also the world.
The Leadership Center is just a few months old, and so far several hundred have attended the course, but the eventual goal is for thousands, and then tens of thousands of Israelis to go through the center. Nachman says developing the center has been a remarkable partnership of Christians and Jews.
Without the connection, I would say, and the connection and the relationship between us and our friends, the Christians in the United States, I could not raise this park.
The center has already had an impact on the kids.
If you want to enrich the young boy or girl, you need to give them some values that they will escort them to the rest of their life.
Up next, part 2 of the National Leadership Center in Israel's biblical heartland. Thank you for watching Jerusalem Dayline. We're committed to providing you with unbiased reporting from the Holy Land. Through weekly broadcasts, podcasts, and online media, our vision is to reach millions around the globe with the true story of what's happening in Israel and the Middle East, all from a biblical and prophetic perspective. This is a big vision and is only made possible by the generous support of people like you.
Call us toll-free at 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/Jerusalem Dateline and make a donation that will help spread the light of truth about Israel throughout the world.
Roman soldiers destroy the Second Temple of Jerusalem. Centuries of eyewitnesses say the temple treasures survived. But where are they?
They went from Jerusalem to Rome, Rome to Carthage, Carthage to Byzantium.
Historians are silent about what happened to it next.
CBN Documentaries presents the worldwide release of Treasures of the Second Temple.
So does it still exist today?
A story of mystery.
Where is it?
Calamity.
Most of the victims were butchered.
And destiny.
The possibility to dig is impossible.
Get your copy of Treasures of the Second Temple. Yours for a gift of any amount to CBN Documentaries.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Here's part 2 of our story on JH Israel. 10 years later, the goal of tens of thousands has been met. In fact, 85,000 have gone through the center. The late mayor of Ariel, Ron Nachman, a man of legendary zeal and energy, has tragically passed away, but his vision for the National Center lived on. It not only fulfilled his vision, but many see it as the fulfillment of biblical prophecy. Ziplining can be a blast, and it's even better when the fun includes a purpose.
This place is amazing. There is like so much important things here. It prepares you to be able to do things that you couldn't believe that you will do.
And that's the goal of the National Leadership Training Center. Its strategy? Use physical challenges, teamwork, and the Bible to teach principles of leadership.
So every day here, there is children all over Israel is coming. We speak with them about David and about Moses. We speak about their leadership and their places in life and how they can dream to be like them.
The idea came about after kids from Ariel visited a Christian retreat in the U.S. called JH Ranch. Ranch directors Heather Johnston and her husband Bruce first suggested the idea of a similar training program for Israel's young people to Ariel's late mayor.
Ron Nachman came to JH Ranch himself, and while he was there, we shook hands across the table on 7707 and agreed that we would build together a national leadership site for Israel.
Johnston sees it as a fulfillment of prophecy.
Ezekiel foresaw that once the cities would be rebuilt and the Jews would gather on the mountains of Judea and Samaria, he said in verse 26 of chapter 36, I will take out the heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh and put a new spirit in you. And we just foresaw that that was going to be the next step. We believe that God has begun a movement in the country, something that is going to continue.
Endorsed by Israel's education ministry, the program focuses on biblical characters to help teach lessons. For example, this obstacle is called Goliath. Participants stand on an 18-inch platform at the top of a 30-foot pole. They jump 7 feet out and 7 feet up to grab a trapeze.
The pole represents Goliath, the intimidating giant that stood and ridiculed Israel and literally stopped the military in their tracks. Well, in a similar way, we have Goliaths in our life, these huge giants, circumstantially, relationally, and we have to somehow find ourselves overcoming that or not overcoming it and trusting God at the same time, because the person on belay, if you happen to miss the trapeze, guess what? You've just done a free fall into the open space. But the wonderful thing is that the belayer below is God. That person acts like God in your life, and they're always going to catch you.
And now, more than 7 years in the making, the center met their goal, and it attracts people throughout Israel.
People are telling each other over the medias, over people that bringing their friends. This is the way that we are recruiting people to come here.
Johnston describes it as a remarkable partnership between Christians and Jews.
It makes me feel like that we're a part of the unfolding of biblical history. God said, I'm going to beckon to the Gentiles, Isaiah 49:22, and I'm going to lift a banner to the nations, and they're going to carry you. They're going to put your daughters on their shoulders, your sons into their arms. In other words, when I want to rebuild this nation, I'm going to do it relationally.
The park has already had a positive impact across generations and worldviews.
I see parents and teenagers that start speaking with each other. I see Arabs and Jews speaking together.
And remember Goliath?
The pole shakes. And now the thing is to get over the platform.
This reporter decided to take the challenge.
There's a reason they call it the leap of faith.
See for yourself.
1, 2, 3.
Well, being on the Goliath was quite a challenge. Since that story, the National Leadership Center has grown even more. And after 10 years, many see an even greater future and believe that the best is yet to come. Chris Mitchell, CBN News at the National Leadership Training Center, Ariel, Samaria, in Israel's biblical heartland. Well, JH Israel is a remarkable center in the heart of Israel that's changing lives. Well, that's all for this edition of Jerusalem Dateline. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. I'm Chris Mitchell. We'll see you next time on Jerusalem Dateline.